If you're passionate about interior design and you want to learn the techniques to create beautiful models, this video is for you. In this step-by-step guide, I will teach you the foundational model making skills of cut, fold, bend, and stick. These are the techniques that interior designers use to develop and present their 3D design ideas. I will also demonstrate how to apply these techniques to create a concept model from start to finish. This will offer a glimpse how interior designers incorporate play and flow state into their creative process by using physical models to shape their design proposals. My name's Dr. Craig Thomas. I have over 30 years experience in the field of interior design as a practitioner and an educator. I've worked on large-scale prestigious projects and helped thousands of students develop their skills. My aim here is to outline a series of practical skills that you can confidently build into your own unique creative practice. Okay, let's start with some basic model making skills then, just to get you started. So let's start with cut, fold, bend, stick. And so this is the kit that you need basically. So you need you can have different sizes, but A3, cutting mat, metal rule, scalpel is the basic stuff. You need some materials obviously, and I just use the basic stuff that you can find in a recycling sort of bin. PVA glue, but it's also very quick to use, masking tape and double-sided tape, and then some blue tack to stick our little architectural figures down. Okay, let's clear the decks. Okay, let's start with cut. So quite sharp scalpels, so we just need to make sure that we're using them properly, and basically the way to use them properly, so if I'm going to trim this edge off this piece of card, is to basically keep your fingers, away from the edge, use a sharp blade and basically cut. Don't press too hard. You might have to go back once, twice, 3 times, but make sure it's nice and sharp, but don't press too hard. And that's basically it. So you've got a nice clean edge to begin with. And so let's start with the next skill then. So if that's cut, so if we do fold next, so basically you take your card, and you can do this in all sorts of ways. You can measure things out, but in this, because I'm just going to make a really quick model, if I cut across and I'm not trying to cut all the way through, then you can basically fold that, and suddenly, that's a really good skill, simple skill, but you don't have to glue anything, you don't need to stick anything, you just literally score through it. And so you can do the same thing on the other side, and you can use both sides, to be honest. You can use the sharp side of your blade, or you can use the other side of your blade if it's a thinner piece. So just experiment with that. So I've just used the sharp there, scored through it, like so. So I'm going to use the other side of the blade, not the sharp side on this next one. And you can see you can just kind of bend it through like that. So skill number 2, fold. And so skill number 3, which is bend. So what you can do with card and paper, it depends on the thickness of this, you need to explore it. So I'm not saying that these skills can be used for every single thing. These are a bunch of skills that you now enact, if you like, onto the materials that you got. So different sizes of card and paper, etc. So if you've got a piece and you want to sort of bend it, say you want to kind of make this a round sort of piece of card, then you can just run it down the side of your drawing board like so, and it basically breaks the fibers down. So if you do that on both sides, then that can curve around any shape that you want then, rather than, and it'll stay in that shape because the fibers are broken. So we got cut, we got fold, and we got bend. So the next one is glue. So I tend to not use anything else other than PVA glue. And when I use it, I tend to just put a sort of small bit. You don't want too much glue out at any one point because it will dry up. There's my glue. And if I haven't already got any bits of card on the side, then I cut some up and I just use those as my spatula, like so. And say I want to glue something, say, to this top piece of card here. So let's take a square. So let's say I want to glue this on the very end here. And let's just say I want to do a similar thing to what I did on the folded bits. So on the end of this, I'm just going to score it and bend it. And so this piece is going to stick onto the end like so, like that. So let me show you quickly how you glue things together, because you can make a bit of a mess with this. And the key thing is not to use too much glue. So if I want to glue this bit to this bit, then I apply glue to my edge. So you can see with this, I'm running it down the edge. And I'm not putting too much glue on. So I'm running this down. So I'm getting a blob of glue on the edge of it, and then I'm running it down that edge. And now I'm coming back onto the angles and I'm running it down. So there's not too much on there. It doesn't matter too much of this one because I won't see too much of it, but I don't want too much glue on there. And so I'm coming back at an angle and I'm running this back just along that edge. So the glue is all sat as best I can onto that edge. Then when I want to glue this thing onto it, so say, you know, I may have a line marked onto that. In this case, I don't. I bring it to it and then I just hold it. So when it's in position, I'm just going to hold that until it has just fixed along that edge. Now, because it's PVA, it's going to take a bit longer. So what I tend to do is I tend to put it down, and sometimes if I need to, because of the weight, I'll just hold it with whatever I've got on the table. Could be a little clamp, it could be, you know, the PVA glue, whatever it might be. So I would just leave that just to do its thing, basically. So coming back to this one, so let's just say I want to mark the edge of this. So I've got a little pencil line marked like so. So I know now I can put glue onto everything up to that point. So across these two sections. So again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm running it down and coming back across, and I'm making sure it's only on that top edge. So I might take the other end of it if I see a little bit overlapping too much. Then I place it back onto the table. Place it over it. And just press down. So you just need to hold it for a little bit, just so that, you know, it's glued right away along that edge. It's not going to glue properly for a couple of minutes. So again, I can weight that down with something that I've got. So if I've got a little tin, or I might drop this thing onto it. And that's basically it. So, you know, this will take a couple of minutes to glue, but once it's been there for a minute or two, it's really fixed. Now, the other skill I may do is I usually keep loads of these bits by the side of my desk every time I cut something. And just if it's a presentation model, I will just take the edge and I will bring it into that and run it along that edge. So it would just takes off that little bit of glue that is squeezed through as those two surfaces meet. So clean the glue off, come back the other side and I'm just going straight into that corner, and that is now really neat and tidy. It's exactly what I want. Okay, so there we have that. Those are the basic skills. So we've done cut, fold, bend, and glue. We can use, as I said, double-sided tape to do this. We can even mask and tape it on the underside if it's going to be a sort of quicker model. If it's not, then I use kind of glue. But obviously now these things need to sort of go to one side to make sure that they glue, and they'll take a couple of minutes. So I'm going to clear the decks again. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring some of my pieces that I've made earlier, and you can see I've got all these bits here which I've been sort of playing around with and cutting using those 4 simple skills, and I'm just now going to kind of build something out of various components that I used, you know, bending that one. These are some of the other ones I folded. So all these are the same skills. I haven't used any glue ones in here at the minute. I've just cut and folded and bended. So this is how I use the blue tack or the white tack. I take a tiny, tiny little bit off, small as you can get it. And once you've got it, you just drop it onto the model, and then you put the person onto that and press down, and so they stand up. So you can use a little, you know, if I'm doing a sketch model and I'm moving it around and I don't want to the fiddle of that, I can put, you know, move this anywhere because I've got this little sort of platform on the bottom there. But if I'm going to take some photographs, I tend to do it this way. So now once I've got that set up, I can, you know, just take photographs. So this could be potentially an exhibition concept. So I'm thinking about different, you know, design language, if you like, for this particular exhibition. And so I'm just exploring different shapes and forms. So I'm just taking a bunch of photographs there now at different angles. I'll continuously kind of move this stuff around to see what, you know, I can produce with these various components that I've made, and I'm just going to explore different lighting techniques as well. So I'm going to move these things around. I'm also going to bring in one of these lights that I can get some proper light into them and start playing around with more kind of shadows and reflections and that kind of stuff off the materials I've got. I've also got different materials here like cloth, and so I can bring the cloth across to create different lighting effects. I can also bring different colors into it to change the kind of atmosphere. So I've got sort of blues, and all these will change more of kind of purple. So I'll play around with that, and I tend to masking tape to the lamp here and just start playing around and see what effects I can get. I'm constantly thinking that this is an exhibition, so I'm thinking about screens for things, for different activities, different desks and different screens for objects and graphics, etc., etc. So I'm just exploring this in those simple cut, fold, bend, glue, just to create this exhibition sort of concept, if you like. Okay, and that's how I sort of progress, sort of making models. So this is very much a conceptual model. It turned into, because I collected these beautiful little kind of stones from the garden, so it turned into a moon exhibition, a moon rock exhibition by the time I finished. And these are the sort of images that I'm creating. So I'm just working with very simple model making tools here. So I've got lots of obviously found objects that have been brought into this now, but I've basically cut, fold, bend, and basically stick, which I didn't use because obviously it was still, there it is, so I could have brought that in because it's just about during that process. It's just glued sort of nicely there. I really like that panel. Again, it's just, so this panel that I just brought in is the one in the front here, which I think it gives a really nice sort of, this is why you just keep on exploring. It gives an end of the exhibition here rather than just this straight line, which I think is really nice. So, you know, what I'm thinking here, this is a big open space here, not quite the NEC, but, you know, a big space with this exhibition of objects in the middle of this huge kind of space with a floor plate here to control things coming on and off it. And then these series of shapes that create this exhibition for the moon rock. I mean, it's just the start. It's the, you know, very early ideas. I tend to now come back to this the next day, leave it set up. I may make some notes on this. I might look at the photographs beforehand and then start working with a new set of objects that I may cut. I may like this color or not. I may like this wrapping round object. This one's a bit overcomplicated. This one here, in some ways I sort of like it, but it doesn't really do much, whereas at least these ones are beginning to create something for me in terms of enclosing the exhibition slightly, maybe having sort of moving images in here or text or something. So I'm not quite sure about that one. So yeah, you know, just use the basic skills and build them and build them and build them until you increase your skills to create fantastic models.